In today's video, we're going to continue our NHL Prediction series where we're making predictions for the upcoming 18-19 season. Today I'm going to tell you the top 5 players that I think are in danger of regressing and not performing as well as they did in the past. And that's coming up next. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. If you're new to the channel, thanks for stopping by. We review and discuss all 31 NHL teams, so if you're a huge hockey fan, consider subscribing and clicking the bell so you don't miss anything. So as I mentioned off the top here, today I'm going to tell you some predictions for the 18-19 season. These are the top 5 players that I think are in danger of regressing and not performing as well as they did last year or in the past year at the NHL level. Some of these guys have tremendous career years last year, and it's going to be hard to duplicate that going into the new 18-19 season. Now, first up, I want to discuss Anaheim Ducks center Ryan Getzlaf. Now, Ryan Getzlaf put up some pretty solid numbers last year, ended up being more than a point per game player. He's obviously had a really solid career for the Anaheim Ducks. Getzlaf's been the captain for that team for a long time, always leads by example, works hard, and has put up some pretty solid numbers over his career. At this point in time, though, I do see the Anaheim Ducks having a season where not only Getzlaf, but some other members continue to regress as age and wear and tear in their bodies catch up to them. We've already seen it happen to other veterans on the team like Kessler and Perry, and at this point in time, I can see Ryan Getzlaf finally having the age and the injuries catch up to him here, and unfortunately, I think Ryan Getzlaf's numbers are going to slip a little bit this year. Fortunately for the Ducks, they have some younger superstar players like an Andre Kashin, a Ricard Raquel, and a Jakob Silfverberg who can hopefully pick up the slack and put the offense on their backs so that the team can still remain to be as successful as they have here in the past. Next up, I've got David Perron, formerly of the Vegas Golden Knights, now reunited back with the St. Louis Blues. Now, David Perron, like many guys in Vegas last year, had career years. It seemed like everything went the right way for the Vegas Golden Knights last year, and many players who ended up playing for the Knights last season had career years and just seemed like they couldn't do no wrong and everything was going the right way. For some of these guys, that's going to be incredibly difficult to duplicate, and I think David Perron going to the St. Louis Blues, he could still have a good year, but I don't see it being as solid as it was last season. Last season, David Perron put up a career high of 66 points, racking up a lot of assists. He ended up with 50 assists. Now, considering where he's going to play with the Blues, if you take a look at their lineup, he's not going to be as high up on that depth chart as he was with Vegas. They've obviously had a lot of players that they added during the offseason. They already had a lot of good pieces there before. So I think, in a way, David Perron's ice time is going to be a little bit more limited. His role is going to be more limited. He could still be a successful year, and I think he can still put up some decent numbers. But I don't think we're going to see anything near the 66 points he put up with Vegas last year. I think more than likely he's going to drop back to the 40 to 45 point range, which was a little bit closer to what his career average had been before last year's great season in Vegas. Next up, I've got Anders Lee of the New York Islanders. Now, Anders Lee's been a terrific goal scorer for the Islanders. A couple reasons why I think Lee could regress here. A couple things. One, he's not playing with Tavares anymore, so that's certainly going to have an impact. Even if he does have a chance to play with a terrific playmaker like Barzal, they're going to be facing the tougher defenders more often. Now, keep in mind, Matthew Barzal was a player I also contemplated putting on this list, but I wonder how well he'll do this year. Obviously, last year he had a tremendous rookie season, but he was also playing lower in the lineup, and a lot of the top defenders were still matching up against Tavares, allowing Barzal to often match up against, second and third pair defensemen and lower in the lineup forwards. So that's certainly helped his cause a little bit for who he was playing against a lot of time during his ice time. Now he's going to be the main guy. He's going to draw the attention of a lot of the top defensive players on the opposing teams, which is certainly likely going to have an impact. He's going to have to improve his skills and continue to work harder in order to keep up those point totals he did last year. I think it's going to be hard for him to keep up those 40 goal totals, and I think he's going to regress some, likely closer to the 25 to 30 range. Next up, I've got Eric Staal of the Minnesota Wild. Now, who would have thought Eric Staal would put up career numbers and score 42 goals for the Minnesota Wild last year, especially with the contract he has that's turned out to be a real bargain for the Wild for sure, especially on a team who's got a fair bit of bad contracts in my opinion. Having such value come out of that Eric Staal contract certainly helps offset the production you're not getting out of other guys like Parise and Charlie Coyle, etc. So for me, Eric Staal was just tremendous last year, had a fantastic year, but it's going to be really difficult for him to keep that up. He scored 42 goals and 76 points while maintaining a 17.5% shooting percentage, which is going to be a little bit tough to maintain. Even if that comes down a little bit, realistically, I think we're going to see Eric Staal fall back to probably that 20 to 30 goal range. That seems more realistic for where he's at with his career and where he normally would be. Obviously, the other thing with Minnesota is they don't have a lot of offensive weapons right now. That's one area of their game I do have concern about moving into the 18-19 season. They do have some forwards that have been underperforming offensively speaking, so we'll see here. But I think Eric Staal, as much as he could still have a good season, he's going to have a really difficult time duplicating 42 goals, and I do see him taking a step back. He can still have a really successful year, scoring in that 25 to 30 goal range. Now, last but not least here on my list today, we've got Wild Bill, William Carlson, and the Vegas Golden Knights. Now, everything, as I mentioned, went right for the Knights last year. It seemed like just about everybody was having career seasons. They could do no wrong. And as much as that they could continue to have another solid second season in the NHL, some of these guys are going to have a hard time duplicating their past performance. Now, if you look at William Carlson, he scored 43 goals last year, meaning he hadn't even hit double digits in the NHL before. Nobody even hardly knew who he was. He really burst onto the scene last year and had an absolutely tremendous year for the Vegas Golden Knights. The one thing that concerns me the most, that leads me to believe he's going to take a step back, is he was rocking a 23.5% shooting percentage last year. That is incredibly difficult to sustain. Obviously, everything was going in for Carlson last year. It was absolutely phenomenal. Not to say that he can't have another successful season. I certainly think the capabilities are there. I don't expect him to disappear, but I do think it's quite logical that he could very well regress to be more like a 30-goal scorer, which is still incredibly successful considering where he was a few years ago. But I do think it's going to be very difficult for him to reach that 43-goal plateau again. If you take a look at that shooting percentage and how many shots he took, he's going to have to take that many more shots because the shooting percentage likely is going to come back down to earth. A more normal average for shooting percentage is usually 15 to 17%, and that's still usually pretty good. So if he comes down 5-6% on his shooting percentage, that's certainly going to have a big impact here on his goal totals. Likely puts him around that 30 range, which I think is a little bit more reasonable heading into the 18-19 season. So those are the top 5 players I think could be in danger of regressing and not performing quite as well during the 18-19 season. I'd certainly love to hear your thoughts of my list here today, and I'd love to hear who you'd put on your list for who you think could be in danger here of falling back and regressing in their production for the upcoming NHL season. If you're new to the channel here, I hope you consider subscribing. We cover all 31 NHL teams, and there's plenty of content here for all hockey fans to enjoy. So if you're new, hit that subscribe button. If you like this video, don't forget to hit the like button as well. I'd appreciate it if you did. As always, thank you very much for watching, everybody. We will catch you next time.